I'm Julia Isaacs. Welcome to the meeting. I want to acknowledge the land around Lake Monona, where this imaginary photo is the ancestral land of the Ho-Chunk people. I want to pay my respects to the Ho-Chunk people who stewarded this land throughout the generations until they were forced to cede the territory in 1832. And now I'll share my screen. Welcome again, everybody. We have a lot of new practices with our Zoom virtual meetings, and one of them is to start with a celebration. And I want to thank Peyton David, who found this piece of good news. I don't know if Peyton is on, wants to read it, or perhaps I'll read it unless I hear otherwise.
Hi. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My cat's blocking me and my screen. So if you see him, he says hi. So hi everyone. I'm Peyton David. I'm the new volunteer newsletter. Oh my God! Stop. Sorry, cat. I'm the new volunteer newsletter editor and was asked to do this month's celebration. So in June 2020, the PSC denied a request to block a Greene County wind farm. And so this has been contested for the last year. A group of 56 people who lived near the Sugar River Wind Project, which is the proposed project is about 5,700 acres, supposed to power 20,000 homes. So a group of people had petitioned against the site, citing fears of reduced property values and adverse health outcomes. Although those fears were unfounded, there's nothing really to prove that there are adverse health outcomes to wind farms. But last month, in a unanimous vote, the PSC denied the petition with no discussion of the petition's merits, which is amazing news since Wisconsin has about like a fifth of the wind energy generation that Minnesota does. It's really kind of falling behind in other states. So with this project, we can move forward as a renewable energy state. So the Sugar River Wind Project is expected to generate $2,500, or excuse me, $250,000 in tax revenue for the town and county, and an additional $300,000 a year in rent for participating landowners. As I said before, it's expected to generate electricity for about 20,000 Wisconsin homes in the area. And I included some additional links for readings. They're pretty interesting. So that's some good news this month.
Thank you, Peyton. I'm delighted to meet you as one of our newer volunteers, and I love sharing the job of bringing good news to people. So thank you. Let me now give folks a preview of the rest of the evening. We'll spend a little time building a community of activists. I'm going to ask you to actually talk to each other. If anyone's really shy, you can pass. Then we'll turn to our main event, which will be Seth Jensen talking about stopping the money pipeline. And he will help us think about how we want to get involved in this, continue our involvement in stopping the money pipeline. You'll have a chance to vote on what you think we should do. And near the end of the hour, we'll have lots of updates with different people talking to you about what their teams are working on. For those of you who are new, like many groups of people, we do things by committees, or we call them teams, and you'll learn about some of those teams. And then I don't know if we'll stop at 8 or 8:05 or 8:10, depends how long-winded we are, but we will give you an option of saying goodnight for the evening, since Zoom can be tiring, or staying on, and we'll have a couple of options for you at that hour. Well, it's it's hard to get to know each other virtually, but we're trying, and we're trying to be welcoming to new people. And one of the ways we're doing that is we've recently hired a new volunteer coordinator whose job is to help new people feel more welcome and find out if there's different things that what they might want to do in the organization. And I am going to introduce her to you through virtually. And she'll explain why.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikki Darga, and I am the new volunteer coordinator for 350 Madison. I wanted to give you an introduction of myself since I can't be there physically at the meeting this time, and just give you a little bit of background on who I am and what you can expect. So I have been coordinating volunteers for a while now in a variety of nonprofit organizations. I started off with an internship at the Henry Viola Zoo, and then did a 6-month internship with this Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle. From there, I did a year with AmeriCorps, doing volunteer coordination for the Habitat for Humanity chapter of Dane County. From there, I was actually hired at the Henry Viola Zoo to do volunteer coordination. So I've done that. I did that for about 3 years. And from there, I moved on to the Dane County Humane Society, where I coordinate the canine volunteers. I also teach the classes in the evening for dog training and puppy classes, which is why I am not at the meeting right now. I have been very interested in the topic of climate change. It is kind of the background radiation of everyone's lives, especially now. And I thought that working at 350 Madison would be a really great way to be a part of a really positive group of people who's looking to make a positive impact on what's happening in the world. As far as what I like to do in my free time, I have a deep love for animals and for wildlife. I actually have 22 pets, which sounds like a lot, but it's a variety of animals, everything from cats and a dog to reptiles, rodents, and an arachnid. I have a tarantula as well. So I also like to spend time with other people's pets. I am a certified professional dog trainer. And my other hobbies include reading, learning new things, and I have recently picked up Dungeons and Dragons, which I've been doing with my friends and roommates. So thank you very much for welcoming me to the organization. I want to reach out a hand if you have questions about volunteering, want to learn more about anything in particular. I can point you in the right direction, and I will probably be, meeting with you and following up with you at some point. And I look forward to working with you and the rest of the organization. Thank you very much.
Now give me a minute to technically move on. That was Nikki. You might wonder how to reach her, and in a minute, if I can figure out where on my screen it is, I will share her email address. There it is. So if you have questions about volunteer opportunities, you can contact Nikki at nikki.darga@350madison.org. And I'm realizing I forgot to mention that we do record these meetings so we can put them on the web, and we do it so only the people who are speaking face is visible. So if you're shy about your face being on the web, you'll have to not speak. We hope you're not shy, and we hope that you will speak. But I just wanted to let you know, because I want people to be aware of if their face might be on the web. Okay. Remember what I'm doing next. Go to the next slide and it will tell me. Oh, I'm going to introduce, excuse me. I'm going to introduce Seth Jensen, who's the leader of our Divest and Defund team. It's one of our very active teams, and he's going to talk to us about stopping the money pipeline. Seth.
Thanks, Julia. A lot of you might remember me as the person, if you were at the July monthly meeting, who ran the background music for our collective action are when we, in the course of the meeting, took action to speak out against an oil pipeline in Wisconsin. It's represented in this slide at the very, very top, line 5. Today is going to be about action to stop the money pipeline. So it's kind of a new term that came up in the winter time. And since then, I've received a fair amount of questions about it. So before we get into the action part, I thought it was important to take some time to just go into what is this money pipeline and why would we want to stop it? So first, I guess the why, kind of self-evident, but we all are struggling and fighting to give the climate time to heal. And that means kind of capping the amount of poison carbon that's going into the atmosphere and heating our planet. And of course, that means leaving a bunch of fossil fuels in the ground, especially the really strong greenhouse gas producing stuff like coal and tar sands, all those extreme forms of energy that the fossil fuel industry is really, really working hard to get out of the ground and pump through these actual physical pipelines and transport through other means. But they don't actually have the resources and the financial capital to do all that without help. And so when we say the money pipeline, we're talking about all that financial support that big oil, big coal, big gas gets from various entities. And that really comes into play a lot when we're talking about actual physical pipelines, like the pipelines depicted in this slide that run through our state, which are owned and operated by a company called Enbridge. And I actually think that the pipeline known as Line 61 is actually a good metaphor for or comparison to the money pipeline. Line 61 is not actually one single discrete line, but it's actually a corridor of pipelines. And this money pipeline is funding that comes through various sources to the fossil fuel industry. So I think now would be a good time for the next slide. So as many of you know, 350 Madison has been involved in the nonviolent direct action campaign to get Chase Bank to stop loaning money to coal, oil, and gas. And that is a very clear-cut example of the money pipeline. Not the only one, but an important one. So just to kind of quickly recap, Chase Bank has loaned, I think, over $196 billion to pipeline builders and extractive industry over the years. They're the worst funder of climate change on Wall Street right now. And we've been campaigning to get them to stop, and actually had kind of a significant breakthrough, not an outright victory, but a breakthrough over the wintertime, which many of you also might remember. In the wintertime, their CEO, Jamie Dimon, announced that Chase Bank, this was after years of demonstration and protest and speaking out, Chase Bank would be walking back from drilling in the Arctic, no longer supporting that financially, and also limiting their investments in coal, their financing of coal. So that was kind of big news, but more significantly, I think we can go to the next slide now. Kind of the bigger part of that story is that the Chase Bank's announcement was kind of like the falling of a domino. In the months after Jamie Dimon's announcement of that policy, a number of other big major banks followed suit. Wells Fargo, Citibank, Morgan Stanley. Another big bank had actually already made a similar policy at the end of 2019. So that we're in this situation now where pretty much Bank of America is the only major bank that is committed to staying the course with drilling in the Arctic. And so this illustrates a phenomenon with Wall Street that we've seen before. When one bank, major bank, under usually under pressure, does something good for the planet, the other banks follow suit. So the slogan, Wall Street moves in lockstep, is actually very true. We've seen it time and time again. There's one reason why it's kind of a logical thing to target and do campaigning against Chase Bank to completely divest from fossil fuels, because that can really change the financial sector as a whole, the banking industry. And that's a big part of the money pipeline. But it's actually not the only part. When we say money pipeline, remember it's financial support from various entities. So that includes insurance companies that the big coal, oil, and gas companies need, and also investments from asset managers. So I think now if we could screen share, we'll get into the stopping of the money pipeline. And I'll just say here, I'm gonna be moving kind of fast, a little bit rapidly. So if you have any questions, I'd encourage you to type them into the chat. We'll be pausing to sort of respond if some questions arise from this kind of complex scenario. But the simple thing to keep in mind is—
Can you see you see the right slide now?
Yeah, and if you just scroll down a little bit to the
This is
meta
the Stop
slider.
the Money Pipeline webpage. Okay.
So Stop the Money Pipeline is not just like a cool sounding slogan, though I think it's a really good slogan. It's also the name of a coalition that's come together, a new organization of mostly environmental groups who were observing the Chase campaign primarily and researching and noticing that it's not just loans that the fossil fuel industry needs in order to expand and in order to often keep going, but it's also those insurance policies, those investments from asset managers. And so Stop the Money Pipeline is basically these groups getting together and developing new campaigns to target often the worst of the worst as far as these financial actors. And so as the captions kind of allude to, when we're talking about insurance, Liberty Mutual is kind of the worst of the worst, the biggest insurance supporter of fossil fuels. A lot of heat being directed at them right now, especially over their policies of the Trans Mountain Pipeline, I believe it's called. And then something I'm still struggling to understand, but this realm of asset managers, with some of the biggest examples being BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, those investment firms are also getting a lot of heat to basically not invest in fossil fuels, not put people's stock portfolios in there. There's a lot of kind of interconnection between BlackRock and the other asset managers and Chase Bank that I won't go into now, but I really encourage everyone on this call to take a little time and go to this website, stopthemoneypipeline.com, to just get a little bit of the bigger picture of both the problem, but also how all these organizations are now working in very much closer coordination to address this problem and really deny the fossil fuel industry the money that they need, the money pipeline. So I think here is where I want to just pause and see if any questions have come into the chat.
Seth, we had a question from Michael Goodman about the photo on your first slide about whether the underwater photo is of line 5. That's the only question we've had in the comments.
Oh, I stole that photo from a tar sands presentation, so I wouldn't know. But someone—
I can answer that. It's a diver that went down to look at line 5 on the bottom of the Straits of Mackinac.
Yeah, it's kind of what I thought. Yeah, that'll be a real disaster if something ever were to happen to that.
And then Deborah asked, what is happening with Bank of America right now?
Yeah, they're kind of the last holdout as far as creating a policy against drilling in the Arctic, which is interesting because one of the biggest breakthroughs in banking activism occurred in 2015 when the Rainforest Action Network, which is the organization that started the Chase campaign, had a victory in their efforts to get Bank of America to create a policy limiting their investments in coal, which at that time they were one of the worst coal investors. And I just point that out because a lot of this Chase bank activism organizing it's not necessarily a new thing. It's building on victories and successful campaigns that have happened in the past, which took the form of a number of actions. I think we might have time for maybe one more question, and we might have a moment to pause if there are any more.
No more in the chat.
Okay. So remember I said I was going to get into the action to stop the money pipeline. As of now, I don't think that 350 Madison's Divest Defund team is going to make any plans soon to say take on another campaign, but I did just want to say that you may see more action alerts and email blasts periodically encouraging you to take action on other parts of this money pipeline like Liberty Mutual or other bad financial actors, I would say, beyond just Chase Bank. And so that's one reason why I just kind of wanted to take some time to give an overview of how it's bigger than Chase Bank and we're focusing on them, but the focus is broadening. And hopefully we'll be victorious in that campaign soon and then can take on the next worst funder of the fossil fuel industry. But as far as like what's happening with the Chase Coalition, that organization of groups, both local groups and national groups, that are really trying to turn the heat on Jamie Dimon to pull out of fossil fuels. It's been a little, I'd say, episodic to this point, and we're trying to get into a little bit more of a sustainable rhythm of action, where when we take a form of action, we know that there's at least a couple people who are committed to doing the organizing. So actually, I'm gonna ask you to go to the next slide, Julia. So as far as our previous actions, you know, the things that led to that first breakthrough in the wintertime, a lot of them over the past couple of years have looked like this, maybe minus the masks. But kind of our go-to tactic for making change in this campaign has been demonstrations in front of Chase Bank. And just as of recently, we've kind of revived that as something that we think we can do, even in this era of COVID-19, taking proper precautions. But there's other forms of action that the coalition has been getting people to do even before the pandemic. And so that's what has changed, is more actions kind of being on the table as far as the action menu of actions. I'm gonna go through a list of those fairly shortly. And all of these actions do have one thing in common with kind of the traditional demonstration in front of the bank. In order to be successful, they need people to participate. In most cases, hopefully lots of people. They need people to kind of spread the word or promote the action, tell their friends, share on social media, forward emails about it. But they all need people to serve in kind of an organizing or coordinating role, the folks who do the actual legwork to make the action happen. So there's all these action possibilities for the future, and which ones actually happen are going to depend on who and how many people are willing to come forward and take on kind of an organizing role in these actions. Pardon me, my little puppy that I'm pet sitting is wanting to make his presence felt. So as I go through this list kind of rapid fire, I'm just going to ask you to think about, do you think you might be willing to help coordinate or organize any of these things in happening? And if so, we're going to encourage you to come to a breakout session that's going to be taking place at 8 at the end of this meeting. So everyone, I'll do a little drum roll, the list of actions that are kind of on the table, things that the wider coalition is going to be offering resources and support to make happen. So ZAPs, it's kind of our pet word for actions in front of the bank that usually don't have a lot of people, but have some sort of like very attention-grabbing thing going on. That's one. The other one is what's called a digital takeover. So we've taken over physical brick and mortar banks on occasion, but a lot of today's consumers are getting their notions of banks from the World Wide Web and review sites like Yelp and Google Reviews and even the Facebook pages of individual bank branches. So this form of action can actually reach a lot of people when we blanket these review sites with basically the truth about Chase Bank and how they're the worst funder of fossil fuels and often how they're affecting us and our communities very directly. So that's essentially what the digital takeover action is. And we'll have time to go more in depth into all of these in the breakout if you choose to come. This is kind of like this bare bones superficial overview. And I think we're ready for the next one, which is adopt an executive. I'm going to be a little boring and just kind of read this. Make sure that every member of Chase's senior leadership is hearing from our campaign regularly. The basic reality here is that Jamie Dimon is our primary target, but he is surrounded by staff people who advise him and who have, some authority in the bank, people who really kind of need to hear the message. And this form of action is going to be making sure that that one or maybe two people on that team are hearing from us regularly. So I think we're ready.
I was just going to add that like Madison would get one person and Seattle would get another and Portland would get another. So we would just have to do one.
Yeah. Thank you, Julia. And then this is something that we actually had another breakthrough with. It's not just like the senior executive teams that Jamie Dimon listens to, but also some of their biggest clients and investors, and almost by definition, state treasurers qualify as that. And we had some recent success in getting our own Wisconsin state treasurer to vote for the climate at Chase Bank's fairly recent shareholders meeting. And we think there's a lot more that could be done there. And there's also going to be more resources and support available from the coalition to do that. So if you're interested in more lobbying type efforts, working with elected officials, this could be a really great way for you to get involved, is in the state treasurer work. And the last one is something called the Youth Pledge. And logistically, it's essentially a petition drive, but a very savvy petition drive. It's aimed at getting youth to sign this petition. Youth are a market that most banks feel essential to capture, but they're also a demographic that are more and more in revolt against the fossil fuel industry and the funders of the fossil fuel industry. So you don't have to be a youth to participate in this form of action. We need folks to just disseminate and get the pledge out there as much as possible. So if you want to be involved in that, come to the breakout happening shortly. I think it's poll time. Thanks, Julia. So if you're interested in being taking on a coordinating role, come to the breakout. We want to kind of get a sense of where the group is at. So we're going to ask you to think for a moment, maybe take a deep breath, and think, if I could just participate in one of these types of action as a participant, not as an organizer, but just do something for one of these, which one would have most of my interest? And please choose one, and that'll serve as information for the breakout group going forward. So can't guarantee that any of this is going to happen, but it'd be good to have your feedback.
And my friends who are co-hosts can't vote, but you can just chat Seth or me and tell us your vote. Maybe we'll be smart, or chat me with your vote, and maybe I'll be smart enough to add it into the totals. A few more people haven't voted, but most people have. So in a minute, Seth, you'll have to do another drum roll. I'll give people 5 more seconds.
What if we all took ourselves off mute and did a drum roll?
I don't think that'll work, but you can try. Okay, I'll end the poll. Seth, can you see the results?
I can. Can we all see the results? Or is it just me?
Yes.
I can.
Cool.
So it automatically turns red, the one that got the most votes?
Yes,
Like-
33% voted for the digital takeover. 24% for the youth pledge. That looks second to me, Seth.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of a tie for third place of lobbying state treasurers, adopt an executive, or zaps near local Chase banks.
Cool. Julia, do we have time to do the action R?
You can do it in 2 minutes. Sure.
Why don't I?
You also have a few more questions in the chat. So.
Oh, yeah. So Seth, you have to choose between question and answer or doing the action R. It's up to you. Hard choice.
Why don't I do the question and answer? I'll put, so there's an action we'd like you to take, which is essentially a digital petition. Why don't I finish up the question and answer, and I'll put the link to the action in the chat. And if folks have time after the meeting, they can do it. But I'm ready for those questions.
Okay. So the first question is from Judy Stabler. So asset managers, BlackRock and Vanguard have a number of ESG mutual funds that have less invested in fossil fuel companies than their total stock market funds. Does this mean that they want to make money from clean energy investments as well as traditional broadly invested funds, which include fossil fuel companies, having it both ways in terms of investing and profiting from clean energy and fossil fuels at the same time?
I don't know. What I do know is I think everyone wants to be seen, whether you're a Chase Bank or a BlackRock or whatever kind of bank you are, as a green entity investing in green stuff.
So like how Exxon has committed to all of its fossil fuel extraction efforts going forward being carbon neutral, which they want to be seen as being eco-sensitive.
Yeah.
Next question is from Mark Schultz. Any thoughts on the best choice of bank for one's personal banking? Credit unions, and there are a number of people who recommended credit unions or local banks. Do you know, Seth, do you know of any like larger national ones that are good, or should we just focus on sort of local, keep it local?
I know, so this is another really good reason to check out the Stop the Money Pipeline website. I can't say anything off the top of my head except to say that there's a really good section in there on more like green banking, alternative fairly fossil fuel free investments, more green investments and banks and stuff like that. So please everyone take some time to go to stopthemoneypipeline.org, some other really good action opportunities there. I am gonna right now copy, because we're out of time for this section, the action link into the chat. It's pretty quick, but basically, as I said before, Treasurer Sarah Godlewski really voted well at the Chase shareholder meeting, and we just kind of want to thank her. So we're asking you to basically sign this digital thank you form to sort of reaffirm that we want to see more of that kind of behavior.
I think we're out of time, right, Julia, for questions?
I think we are, if we're going to try to end close enough to 8 that you can have a second thing for leading. So I think we should move. Thank you, Seth. You can see from the chat there's been a lively conversation, and oh yeah, good. Very clever. I don't think I can do that. Thank you, Seth. What we're going to do in the last 10 minutes is different people are going to share what's happening. Lots of people on this call are working on different teams and different actions, and they're each going to give a short update. And I'm going to start with Chloe. Oh, I have to share my screen. Sorry. I can see it. Now you guys can see it. Oh, you see it? Yes.
Okay, hi everybody. So I've been working this summer on coordinating 350 Madison's participation in state climate policy initiatives. So the first one is just going to be my sort of final update on the Governor's Climate Change Task Force public listening sessions, which occurred and concluded on the 15th. So there was great turnout. More than 1,000 people participated from across the state. Including many members from 350 Madison, and our team leads also put together an official set of 350 Madison comments, and the link for that is in our newsletter and also are available for anybody to view on our website. And then the official recommendations that the task force is making to the governor are supposed to come out in October. So we'll sort of be keeping an eye on that as well. And one last thing is we were hoping to sort of track 350 member participation if anybody did attend the hearings. So if anybody attended a hearing or submitted comments, you can indicate that down in the chat if you want to make sure that we counted you as a participant. And then the second big item is the PSC has put out their strategic energy assessment for the next 6-year cycle out for sort of review and public comment, and the comments for that are due August 14th. So currently, Wisconsin climate organizations are kind of displeased with the state of the document, which doesn't really mention climate change at all, and kind of lacks the attention we're hoping to see towards a strong transition to renewables. So I will leave links to the document itself and the official comment portal in the chat, and then that's also covered in our newsletter, and the links are there as well. So I think that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I was trying to make sure I was going to be able to click to the next. Oh, it's wonderful to see in the chat. PSC stands for Public
Service Commission.
Service Commission. Thank you. Is Mark making our announcement about our newest initiative? Or is it Gail?
Gail, since you did the call today with Nikki, do you want to go ahead and then I'll pitch in as needed?
Sure. Yeah, this is, we are about to launch a major Get Out the Vote initiative, and we hope that many of you will join us. This stems from a planning session of our coordinating council some months ago, where we decided that really the most important thing for the climate is that the election go the right way, and that we get elected leaders who care about the climate. So we are a nonprofit, so we are limited to nonpartisan work. we can't endorse candidates. But there's a lot we could do in terms of get out the vote, encouraging mail-in ballots, helping people get the right voter ID, giving people information about voting requirements. There are many things we could do. So we're just launching this and organizing. We're looking at having 3 tracks. The first track will be partnering with students and youth, and Mark could talk about that in a moment. This is kind of contingent on a grant we applied for and we're hoping that we get. The second part is partnering with community organizations in our area. There's a big voter ID, Dane County Voter ID Coalition, which we have joined, and we'll be working with members of that coalition, which includes groups like the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, Voices de la Frontera, the ACLU. It's a big group of organizations that will be doing get out the vote work this fall. And then finally, we'll be reaching out to our mailing list, our members and supporters, and engaging them both personally in voting and in reaching out to their friends and circle of acquaintance to encourage voting and being active in the elections. So there's opportunities to get involved. Watch your email. We'll have more information about this coming out this week, and there'll be an opportunity to sign up. Or if you want to, you can also put your name and email in the chat box. We'll make sure you get on the list. And we do have a steering committee, and the next meeting is a week from tomorrow, August 11th at 2 p.m. And again, if you're interested in joining, put your name in the chat, and we'll send you the Zoom link, and there will also be an opportunity to sign up in the email that you'll be receiving. Mark, do you have?
No, just one quick minute. Part of what we're the grant was to an organization in Seattle called Clean and Prosperous America, and we'll certainly do our best to do the kind of student outreach, regardless of whether that comes through or not. And that's partly because of the obvious reason that we have the strictest voter ID law in the country, along with the weakest campaign finance oversight and reporting. But the voter ID law was deliberately, crafted to create barriers for students to vote. So we'll help with all the other organizations working on that and try to add a kind of climate message to those campaigns. So yes.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Mark. If there's any, I can't wait to get my email to see what that will be about. Let me move us on. Oops, there we go. Stephanie, did you have some updates for us?
I do. Thank you, Julia. So hi, everybody. This was such an inspiring meeting, hearing about all the great work that's happening at 350 Madison. And the fundraising team wanted to let you know about a couple of ways that you can support the campaigns and this great work. We have a summer sustainer campaign going on. And if you're not familiar, sustainers are folks who make a regular monthly donation to 350 Madison that can come out of your checking account or be paid for by a credit card. And it's very easy to set up and maintain just by going to our website. And any amount, any contribution is very much appreciated. And the reason why this is so important for a nonprofit like ours is that it provides that steady, reliable income. And it helps us plan for the future because we then kind of know what to expect. And as Mark said, we just submitted a grant for the Get Out the Vote work, but we really, really rely on our individual donors more than anything to support the organization. So our goal for this summer is to get 20 new monthly sustainers. And I just wanted to thank all of you who are already our current sustainers. Thank you so much for your contribution. And then secondly, this may seem very early, but we are already starting to plan for our Giving Tuesday event, which is the 1st of December. And we had a great time planning it last year and even more fun at the event. And although it's going to be virtual this year, we hope it will be also a lot of fun. And I wanted to give you just a heads up on what we're thinking about for our virtual event and our silent auction, which was really terrific last year. We're looking for donations, both of handmade items, and we had so many beautiful knitted and crocheted items last year, but we're also thinking about building community through skills sharing. So if you know how to teach a language, or you would like to teach someone to crochet or how to do canning, or you can teach guitar over Zoom, any of those ideas, we're hoping that you might participate and make a donation to the silent auction. So if you already have some thoughts on that, you could go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll follow up with you, or just file it away. And then we are looking for folks to join our team. As I said, we had a lot of fun planning last year, and we're looking for people who like event planning or just want a way to get involved. You can also either contact me at my email here or put your name in the chat and I'll follow up with you. And that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Stephanie. Oh, this announcement's mine. So we're not meeting Labor Day. We normally meet the first Monday of the month. Instead, we will meet on the second Monday, which is September 14th, for those that mark their calendars to make sure they don't miss a meeting. We're working on the topic. And we also, a heads up, the election is coming up. And so we don't meet the first Monday of November because we think you may be doing other things that Monday, like getting out the vote. And so we'll meet the second Monday in November. In October, we will be meeting the first Monday. And we already have an exciting speaker, Sam Grant, who's the Executive Director of Minnesota 350, will be speaking on racial justice is climate justice. My other announcement is we're seeking Zoom co-hosts for this meeting. You may have seen me a little clumsy in doing things. And if you have good Zoom skills, you could help us out. There's a team of us. Kelly and Marion and I are the main team at this moment. Some of our great team members are taking a hiatus during the Zoom period because they can't bake cookies and bring them to Zoom. If you like to help plan meetings, our next meeting is Friday, August 14th at 4:15. If you just email me, I'll send you the link. There are other teams that are meeting. Seth, you want to read this or do you want me to?
I want you to, Julia.
Seth and I are both active members of the Divest Defund Team. It works. Oh, you just heard Seth talk all about stopping the money pipeline. They're gonna have a quick meeting at 8 o'clock or whenever we finish, in about 8:10 tonight. But there will also be our regular monthly meeting. We're meeting a little different time this month, Tuesday, August 11th at 5:30. We'd love to have anybody drop in and check us out. You just email Seth at divest.defund@350madison.org. Susan, do you want to read the next announcement? Or Kermit? I don't know who's on the line. I guess Susan.
Yeah, I'm here. Right. So I noticed there's a number of new faces, at least new to me, on the screen, and I'm hoping that you will consider learning about the Community Climate Solutions team by coming to our monthly meeting. The next one is on the 20th of August. We meet on the third Thursdays of the month at 4:30. And in addition, I would love to be able to write to each of you and do a Zoom face-to-face kind of interview to tell you a little bit more. I mean, of course, you can also do that with our new volunteer coordinator, but I am very, very interested in telling folks about all the work we're doing in order to support our local governments in Madison, Middleton, Winona, Fitchburg, UW-Madison, and Dane County. So we are making a difference in our local governments and achieving their goals, and it's pretty exciting work. So hope to see you.
Thank you, Susan. And you can see Susan is the contact for more information. And you can tell that I had made that same typo I didn't correct yet, madison.org. And last but not least, Phyllis, do you want, no, I think there's another slide, not last, but continuing. Phyllis, will you tell us about the tar sands team?
I will indeed. We're fighting Enbridge tar sands pipelines in Wisconsin, and our aims are to halt plans for Line 66 in the Line 61 corridor, and to stop the reroute of Line 5 in northern Wisconsin, and then to shut down Line 5. And we support efforts led by those most impacted, including tribes, landowners, and affected community members. And we always meet just before this meeting. And so we also didn't want to meet on Labor Day. So it will be Monday, September 14th, 5:45 to 6:45. And you can contact me, phyllis.hasbrook at 350madison.org if you'd like to be involved. And I would just say we're on a roll. Three national pipelines have bit the dust, and we hope to be the fourth.
Hi, everybody. My name's Annabelle, and I'm an intern at 350 Madison this summer. And I'll make this quick, but I'm here to talk to you about becoming a Green Star phone caller. We're looking for volunteers who are passionate about promoting 350 Madison, its campaigns, and its current projects. You would be able to operate on your own schedule and choose the amount of hours you would like to commit. We would provide you with easy to follow scripts and trainings. And I really want to stress that there is no prior experience necessary. All that we are asking is enthusiasm for the cause. You also wouldn't have to commit to coming to meetings where you plan who to call or changes to the script. We just ask that you attend a training before getting started, but you can get started. We want people to get started as soon as possible. And especially during this pandemic, you would be helping us maintain contact with our supporters, informing the public regarding upcoming virtual events, and letting possible volunteers know how to get in contact with us. There should be a link in the chat if you are interested in volunteering with us. So I hope to see your information.
Thank you. Yeah, lots of different things. You know, if you want to go to a meeting, you don't want to go to a meeting, we have different ways people can get involved. Tennis. And tennis, I think we're short on time. I'm not going to show the clip. I'm just going to have you do the slide.
Oh, okay. That's okay. We can show that, or I can send the link out to people too. I'm Tanis Mathieson, and I'll try to make this quick as well. Some of you know we're in the somewhat early stages of developing our approach and actions related to a very important topic. Oops. But while we're developing our longer term approach, we still have some shorter term actions that we're moving ahead on. And I just wanted to mention some of those here to you. We do have a group of people reading Me and White Supremacy by Layla Saad. If you are interested, we're like midway through that book. But if you're interested in joining it, you can email Mary and Friedel. The next meeting is August 17th, and that's on Monday, I believe. We are getting close to having our board consider a statement on climate justice at their August meeting. We are developing a climate justice action plan, and right now the elements are education, solidarity with social justice groups, inclusion, which is related to increasing diversity in within 350 Madison, and examination, which is examining our activities and teams to make sure that they integrate climate justice and racial justice into their actions and planning processes. We're planning a watch party on Tuesday, August 24th at 7 o'clock to view and discuss a 54-minute YouTube video of Ibram X. Kendi, who's the author of How to Be an Anti-Racist. Some of you may have heard of him. He's won a number of book awards, and he's been speaking quite a bit. He's a very interesting and dynamic person. If you're interested in getting more information or finding out how to get involved in this topic, put your email in the chat, or you can email me directly. And my email is at the bottom of this slide. And there is a training being offered by an organization called the People's Hub that sounds very relevant to our work. It's called Climate Justice and Community Renewal, Linking Resistance and Renewal, Overcoming Barriers. And that's this coming Thursday. I don't know if that works for people. I'm going to be calling into it. It's free. And there are many other training opportunities and webinars that we have access to. If you are interested, again, send me an email or put your email address in the chat and I'll get a hold of you. And then there are 2 recent articles that I highly recommend, both from the New York Times, coincidentally. One is called Pollution is Killing Black Americans, and the other one is 1/4 of Bangladesh is flooded. And I jumped the gun a bit and put links to the training and those 2 newspaper articles in the chat too early. I'm not that technically savvy yet, so I accidentally put those in there. So you'll have to scroll up a little bit if you want the links to those, or again, email me and I'll send out any information that you're interested in regarding these items that are on this slide. And I think that's it for me.
Janice,
yes.
Janice, there's a question. I'm not sure if August 24th is a Tuesday.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's the 25th.
Okay.
Yes.
Watch Party Tuesday, August 25th. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes.
I'll try to collect, well, I can't correct a video, but
no, that's
thank
fine.
you. So, thank you, everybody.